Hi, Blake. Just wondering so far, what area of town are you staying in, and what's sort of your comfort level with both this city and this team?
We recently just moved into the LA area, probably just 20 minutes from the ballpark. My wife and kids just recently this past week, just trying to get settled in and create a schedule for the kids so they're more comfortable. Obviously, with the new requirements that have been passed down, it makes it more tricky. You know, the family trying to be aware of the situation and how, you know, it affects the clubhouse and you know, myself. But, you know, in regards to being on the team, everything's been great so far. The guys they've been really good. I feel like, you know, overall, everybody's had a great work environment. We all laugh and joke. It's been, you know, almost as well, it's easily as productive as normal spring training, but almost in a way more productive. You know, just kind of having your own guys and with the amount of talent. With us pitchers being able to face, you know, two ridiculous lineups, no matter what side you're pitching on. And hopefully, as pitchers, I feel like we've got a lot of talented arms that these hitters get to face too.
Next question's from Alana Rizzo. Go ahead, Alana.
Blake, strong appearances so far in these intra-squad games, and you had mentioned two very strong lineups when you're facing your own teammates. How much do you think that helps you as a pitcher when there's absolutely no hole on either side, when thankfully you play an actual opponent? You've already faced those caliber of bats.
Well, yeah, it definitely helps prepare you. I've been blessed to be on a couple organizations that have had some deep 40-man rosters. Obviously, 40-man rosters are talent studded out through from 1 to 40, but you know, big league ready is a different story. And I think you look at the talent that is in this organization from 1 to 40. That's what stands out to me is there's really no break, and it's easily the deepest 1 through 40 I've ever seen. I can't speak for organizations I've never been on, but I think this organization has done a great job by drafting, developing, signing players, and trading for players to allow for crazy year like this to still have plenty of room for success. And you look through the clubhouse, no matter who you're facing each night, you know, like we both mentioned already, anybody can put the ball in the ballpark. And I've certainly seen my fair share of hard hit balls, which has taught me a lot. I've been able to have great conversations on, you know, pitches I feel like I've executed that maybe didn't get the results I wanted, or pitches that I didn't execute, and maybe what these hitters are seeing from me. So I've thoroughly enjoyed the time so far, and I've learned a lot. Just, you know, talking to Max and Eddie, you know, some brief conversations, you know, with some other guys throughout the clubhouse.
Some of your teammates, particularly more of the starters, have tried to work in more of their off-speed stuff in this downtime, with Ross Stripling, you know, working on the changeup, Kirsch working on his changeup a little bit, Dustin May, the change in the curve. For a reliever standpoint, is there anything that you're working on in particular with that repertoire, or is it more just making sure the delivery is where you want it to be at this point?
I think stuff seems pretty clean. You know, some days I might have more depth to my sinker than the next day. I feel like I've had really good lateral movement, but being able to create the consistent action so I know where the ball's going to go every time. That's been the fun part through this summer camp. And I think, you know, as a starter, you know, those guys, it's a little bit different approach than I really just trying to bring all my pitches to the table and worry about sequencing and how to set up the next pitch. I have what I have. I'm not, you know, going to create a new pitch at this point in my career. You know, maybe down the road if I'm fortunate to play with I'm going to attack with what I have and just learn to locate early and execute two-strike pitches. That's really what our focus is.
Is there a benefit to that, knowing exactly who you are and knowing what your strengths are, and just making sure that the action and the execution is there with, you know, what has gotten you to this point to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun learning new pitches. Like the last couple of years, I've pitched more of the four-seamer and cutter. it was great when, a sinker was in the back of every hitter's mind. But as I got away from it, those pitches aren't probably my A-plus pitch. It makes it a little easier for hitters to zone me. I think understanding, which I do, that I'm a sinker baller, and that's my first and foremost. I guess the pitch I have to establish, and other stuff gets better after that. And there is a piece of knowing, hey, just execute what I have and make it the best that it can be, and then everything else plays off of it. That's just pretty much like you said. That's where we're at.
Thank you, Blake. I appreciate your time.
Next question is from Dave Vassay. Go ahead, Dave.
Blake, is it fair to say that you may have benefited more from this time off than most pitchers, considering where you were in Arizona to where you're at right now?
I don't know. I think maybe from the outside perspective, you would assume so. But, I think anybody that might have had like a nagging injury in spring that was like a mid-season, turnaround, that would be most from this. I've told, BMAC and Mark and Hunter, I felt like I was right there in spring. Like 3 days before we shut that thing down, I felt like everything was clean and I was ready to go for a season, but we need to build up against some competition. The benefit factor, it's always a blessing when you can take a little bit of a load off of the intensity of the games. But, I would say I was fortunate enough to have the bare essentials to throw to and where I live, and really didn't have the most conducive weight room, considering everything weight room across the country got shut down through the COVID. I don't know if anybody. Some people, probably benefit more than others. I don't know if I necessarily benefited more than others, but I think the biggest thing for me was getting back into the baseball environment. It definitely it actually made me grow closer to season ready than actually being away from it.
Thank you.
Next question is from Jack Harris. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Blake, I'm wondering how defined has the coaching staff described what your role might be this year, or just kind of the bullpen at large? How good of an idea do you guys have on how, the work might get divvied up back there?
I think somewhere along the lines of facing a hitter and getting him out. That's about all I know. They don't really talk too much about any roles right now. I think the biggest thing is just making sure everybody's healthy, that we're prepared as possible. And there's so many good arms in this bullpen that you can't sit there and nitpick about where you want to be. You've got one of the greatest closers of all time, Kenley. You've got, Joe Kelly throws 100 with a nasty breaking ball, and David Baez and Gratterall. The list goes on. You keep rattling these guys off, and would you say that in a 60-game sprint, is it more important to have an 8th inning role, a 9th inning role, or 7th inning role, or the ability to throw 4, 5, 8th, 9th inning guys and shorten the game? I don't know what the approach is going to be, but I'd say that we're sitting pretty good as long as guys stay healthy and we're able to go out and compete. I'll take our chances against any bullpen in the league.
Yeah. And when it's come to the work you're mentioning, especially on like the sinker, who on the staff have you been working with either in the spring or now on the mechanical side of things? And how similar is it to instruction you've had in the past?
There hasn't been, honestly, there hasn't been a lot of instruction with my sinker in the past. It's kind of been something I've always thrown. Now as my mechanics have ironed out and you get a feel on your body, things have kind of tweaked themselves. Now, over the course of the last year, in regards to 2019, I think there was some physical restrictions that I ran into that I didn't realize that created some bad mechanics. And that might have led to more injuries. And coming here to LA, Connor McGinnis and Brandon Daniels, everybody from the training staff to the pitching, and talking to me about this is where you're most successful in regards to arm slot, wrist positioning, hips, all these things. It's top to bottom. It's an approach from staff, and it's a collective group. Going back and looking at film from when things were right, 16, 17, and seeing what the difference was in 19. And there's some differences there, and I feel like we've been able to attack them. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from Austin and Will and some of the hitters, just kind of what they're seeing. There's still a lot of work to do, but I feel very comfortable with what I have right now taking in the season. So that to me is very it's humbling if people take the time to invest in me, and I'm looking forward to give them a return on that investment.
Is that stuff that, like, from the time you signed or like the first day of camp, that they already had prepared to work with you on?
That was part of the reason I signed here. They put together some slideshows, some conversation pieces, and we're talking about some things that they felt like would get me back in the position to just go and compete and not have to think about mechanics. And just from top to bottom, training staff, pitching coaches. All these guys from the top to bottom, they've all been very collaborative, and they're excited to have me on board. They're excited that they can get me back to where I was physically, and then allow me to go and compete and do what was blessed to me.
Thank you.
Another question from Alana Rizzo. Go ahead, Alana.
Blake, in this shortened season, how much more important does the bullpen collectively become as far as your role with keeping games, either having the lead, keeping it there, or making sure those games that are close stay close to where your offense has a chance?
Well, I think it's always a fun toy to have, I guess. Certainly not every team has the luxury as maybe the five that are coming to mind right now across the league. In terms of the bullpen, I think we've seen a movement where people and there's never been a season where it potentially could be more valuable than this year. I played on a team in Oakland where, we had 5 guys in the second half of 18 that were closers. And it's certainly made it easier on starters, knowing that they had people that come out and compete and put zeros up. I look at this bullpen, and there's going to be a lot of guys that are certainly those kind of players, and that's how deep this pitching staff is. I don't think it's going to affect the way any of these starters approach the game, because they all have phenomenal stuff all the way down to where 5 starters are going to be, all the way through probably 7, 8 exact guys. And the game's going to dictate it. That's where the experience of the coaches on this team are going to come in. And really, when it comes down to it, you can't put your thought process into how are they going to manage, how are they going to do this, how are they going to dictate my role. It's, hey, when my name is called, you go out and get outs. At the end of the day, if there's a W on the board, I'm happy. So the benefit too is I think there is going to be less stress on arms in regards to ups and downs. I don't know, just from my experience in American League National, usually with the DH being a factor, it will kind of ease up the idea of getting multiple guys up at once in case of pitching. So I think there's a benefit involved in that. It's definitely a different twist, right? National Academy. I think overall this team is set up pretty.
Thank you.
I have a question from Adam Grossbard. Go ahead, Adam.
Blake, you've talked in the past about in high school being diagnosed with a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Was that a consideration for you as you thought about playing this year, or is that something that's no longer an issue?
No, I think a bigger concern for me is probably asthma than anything. And, everybody has to make a decision based on their own family, their own health. And, there's been so much stuff through this coronavirus that you don't really know what to believe. You don't know. The only thing you can believe is the fact that it is a virus and there is some severity to it. But I honestly, I choose not to live in fear. I feel like God's put that on my heart as a believer to not worry about, bending fear. I think we're called to be smart and make decisions positively. But it's never even been in the back of my life and my mind. I think, I've been given this platform to play this game. I'm certainly going to go out and honor God with everything I have. And not worry about, I guess, if I necessarily am going to catch something. think it's wise to be aware of what's going on, and I certainly hope we can get this as a country under control soon. So, but it's sad to see a lot of people, across the country, certainly struggling just to get back to work. So hopefully this baseball season, something that myself and my teammates can do, put a smile on people's faces, give them something to look forward to instead of, the social isolation. I don't think we're meant to isolate the team. We're supposed to interact and have relationships. So hopefully through a TV, people can enjoy these games.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. Thanks, everybody. Dave Roberts will be available at 2:30.